Good morning everybody, and once again welcome back to the video. In this video you are going to learn how to essentially get inserts, update and pull only the incremental data from any JDBC source using PySpark. In this approach you don't need Debezium, you don't need AWS DMS, so I'll show you how you can fetch, insert and updates in incremental fashion. So let's get started with the video. First we need a Postgres database as a source for the demo purposes. So let me share my screen. So we are going to use Postgres, and here is the Docker Compose file. So this will essentially spin up Postgres on port 5432. So let's basically start the Docker container. My Docker container has now started. Now that we have our Postgres running, now we are going to essentially run a Python file called ingest.py. This Python file will create a table called sales in the public schema in the database Postgres, and it's going to populate with some fake data. We are also going to create a trigger, which is also baked into the Python code, and I'll basically talk more about the triggers shortly. This is the SQL command. Again, this is all baked into the Python code. The Python code is again going to create a table called sales, and as you can see there is a column called updated at and a sales ID. Sales ID is a primary key which essentially auto increments, and updated at is a column. Anytime you update a record, it's going to basically update the timestamp. Now, since when I update a record, I essentially want that particular column to be updated, right? I'm going to set up a trigger. Let me show you that process now. So here you can see this is the command for setting up trigger. So this trigger is pretty straightforward, right? Anytime you update any record in Postgres in the public schema in the table sales, automatically the column called updated at, it's going to basically update the timestamp whenever that update happened. Now let's see everything in action, right? So what I'm going to do is, as I said, I'm going to run this Python file ingest.py. So let's run that. Again, this Python file will create the table, will create the trigger and essentially populate with some fake data. As you can see, now if I refresh, I do see a table called sales. And if I want to run a quick query here, just to show you, we'll do select star from. And here you can see we have some data to play with. Now that we have some data in Postgres table, now let's take a look at the template. Let's run the template and see everything in action. Before we run the template, here is the entire flowchart diagram, what the template does. Again, this is the entire logic. Again, if you want to dive deep into the logic, I have a link in the description which you can check. The article essentially describes everything. But for now, let's simply run the template and see everything in action. So I'm going to run this massive template that I have wrote, right? So I'm going to run this. So now I'm running the template for the first time, so it does make sense. So the checkpoint is not present, so the template is going to pull all the records from the source database. The next time if I run, I should not be seeing any data. So let's wait for this to happen. So again, the template is in the running state. And here you can see, here is where I have declared all the variables: JDBC URL, table name, username, password, the primary key, the column which essentially has the updated date time object, right? And yeah, so let's see this in action. So here you can see the template has pulled the data, right? As you can see. Now if I run the template, I should not be seeing data since I've already processed the data, and the template is essentially saving the checkpoints. So let's see that in action. So here you can see the PK, which is auto incrementing, right? So again, we see the data. That's great. Now I'm again running the template. At this point, as you can see, the checkpoint was found. So I should be seeing an empty data frame, which usually makes sense since I've already processed the data. Meanwhile, I just wanted to show you, here you can see the template essentially stores a checkpoint. As you can see, there is no data to process, which does make sense, and I do not see any data. Now I'm going to simply make an update over here, and let's see if the template can get that. So here you can see I'm adding **, and I'm going to click on save object. Oops, I want to click on save object. And here you can see the record has been updated. Due to triggers, the date time will be automatically updated. Let's see if the template can capture now. So I'm going to run the template again. The checkpoint is found. So now again, it's going to resume from that point, and it's going to perform the incremental queries and only get the updated data. So let's see that in action. So let's wait for a second or two. And here you can see we got that star and that the particular record which was updated. You see, in an amazing way, we can essentially pull inserts and updates from any source table with this technique. This way, you are not scanning the entire table and essentially you're doing incremental queries. By doing so, you're essentially saving resources and cost as well. Thank you so much for watching. The entire source code and a complete deep dive can be found on my LinkedIn article, where I have essentially described all the steps and the flowchart, everything in detail. Let me know if you have any more questions. With that being said, keep smiling, keep programming, and if you believe I've done a fantastic job, a like would be great and a star on GitHub would be fantastic. Thank you so much for watching. Keep smiling, keep programming, and see you in the next video.